Okay, so pause the video, give this question a go yourself first. I'll go through the question and solution and understanding. Okay, so I'm hoping you give this a go yourself first. So memory management, this is basically talking about an aspect of memory management when we're using the virtual memory. Remember, memory management isn't just using virtual memory, it's also about tracking things from the CPU to the RAM, what's being used, what's not being used, etc. What we saw in the previous video. So in this situation, it's asking us how is virtual memory created and how is it used. Well, we've got our RAM, we've got our hard drive. So what happens is the hard drive is partitioned. That means it's got a section on it, which is going to be virtual memory. If you didn't use the word partitioned, that's fine, but for now, from this point forward, use that word partitioned. It separates it, so the hard drive is split, where we've got some virtual memory allocated to it as well. When RAM is full, the pages, remember that word, pages, from the previous question, which are not used or needed, are transferred from the RAM, that was meant to go to the virtual memory, transferred from the RAM to the virtual memory. When it's needed again, so when that page is needed, that process is needed, it'll be taken back from the virtual memory back into the RAM. So let's put that into an answer. HDD is partitioned to create virtual memory. When RAM is full, pages not required, so processors which are not required or not needed or not being used are transferred. So each point I'm putting is a mark here. Transferred to the virtual memory when page or process or data is needed again. It transfers. My hand is killing me, I don't know why. Okay, so it transfers from virtual memory to RAM. There you go. Nice and easy. Okay, so this is another question. It is slightly harder than the previous question, but it's using the same knowledge. Explain how virtual memory can be used in this scenario. So pause the video, give the question a go. Boom. Computer pages A, B, C stored in RAM. So we've got RAM, and we've got A, B, C, which is in RAM. Page D needs to be sent to the RAM, but RAM is full. Page B is not needed immediately, so what happens? Well, same again. Hard drive, partitioned to create virtual memory. Boom, just partitioned it. 2. Page B transferred to virtual memory. Boom, done it. Page D, transfer to new free space in RAM. Boom, done. Once A, B, C is not needed, B can be sent back to RAM from virtual memory when needed. So you've got B here, D is no longer in the hard drive, it's here. Let's imagine that D's done its job. We need to use B again. B could be switched out. And B's back in here. So it's lots of switching. Pause the video, give this question a go. This should be really straightforward now based on the previous questions we've just did. Okay, so what you should have is RAM. What you should have is your hard disk drive. What you should have done is partitioned it and do virtual memory, and I'm going to put little arrow going partition just to be geeky. And the final thing what we need to do is we need an arrow going both ways, because it can go both ways between virtual memory and RAM. I'm going to put transfer pages. So you get a mark for that, you get a mark for that, you get a mark for that, and you get a mark for that. Pause the video, give this question a go. Okay, before we begin, 3D modeling, what is it? 3D modeling is the ability for developers, designers to basically recreate real life objects from a 3D perspective. This is as basic as it goes where my mouse is right now. So like in video games or movies, you start off with using shapes like this, but you make it really, really complicated to the point that it looks like it's real. You can imagine our school laptops not being able to handle something like this, especially if you're doing top-end 3D modeling. So let's go back to the question. Why is virtual memory going to be needed for this? Well, if we didn't have virtual memory, RAM is very limited. You can imagine that 3D modeling is going to take up a lot of our RAM and more. If that is the case, what happens when a RAM becomes full to our computer performance? It starts slowing down, it crashes, etc. So, by us using virtual memory, what we're doing is we're expanding our RAM. It's kind of making more RAM, but it's not, because we're using virtual memory, but it's kind of like doing that. So it's to prevent the slowing, the crashing, the freezing. It will be slow, so I'm going to keep slow there, but it prevents crashing, it prevents the freezing. It allows us to process the large amounts of data which 3D modeling is going to require. So, number one, it extends the RAM, makes it bigger, prevents, now I'm going to use, for concept here, 3D modeling software to freeze. It prevents it freezing, crashing, and it allows our PC or computer to process the large amounts of data needed for 3D modeling. So you notice how I'm talking about 3D modeling constantly. I keep referring back to the scenario they gave us. If it was about high-end video games, I'll be linking it into high-end video games. But for this, it's 3D modeling. So it extends the RAM. It basically makes the RAM bigger, in essence. It prevents freezing and crashing. Yes, it slows down our computer slightly, but it prevents it freezing and crashing completely. It allows our PC to handle the large amounts of data which is needed for us to do 3D modeling in its